Right, so if you want to see a cyclist's paradise, this is it. Look down there. This is a bicycle parking lot. I wonder if we had bicycle parking lots in South Africa where the bicycles would be used a little more. Of course, we'd also need bicycle lanes and flatter terrain. But I must say, this is the way to get around. To hop on your bike and enjoy the beautiful summer weather. Okay, time for me to get on my train. So as per usual, I did get a little bit lost riding in, but in Cape Town, as long as you keep the mountain on your side, you always know where you are. And I guess in Basel, as long as you keep the Rhine in sight, you know where you're heading. So I'm crossing the Rhine now. I'm actually on the wrong side of the road. I had to cross over to come here, but at least now I know where I am. So from here it's a fairly easy trip to the conference. I am running a bit late, but we'll get there. Okay, catch up with you later.
First of all, my thanks to the organizers for the privilege of being able to join you for this Congress and to speak to you and, more importantly, to listen to you. And my second word of thanks is to those who have expressed their sympathy with me after last night's call. I take it as a spiritual discipline to teach me detachment.
It was just such a beautiful day in Basel today, and it's the lunch break now in the conference, and so I rode down to the Rhine River on Doris the Brompton, and just enjoying a bit of the good summer weather that they're having here. Now, one of the areas of interest in this particular conference is the notion of political theology. In other words, those kinds of beliefs that shape the way in which we structure societies and eventually enact them in policy and legislation to make the beliefs that we hold pragmatic and practical and working in society. I've thought quite a bit about this over recent years. Cornel West, that wonderful artist of theology and philosophy, once said that a measure of healthy atheism is good for Christianity. And I think I tend to agree with him. Now, the reason that he gave was that he said that very often when we begin to disbelieve in some of the gods that we've held, we come to find that they're good to stop believing in, because those gods are often idols. They're not the true God. And of course, that's one of the things that Dietrich Bonhoeffer at this particular conference, the Bonhoeffer Conference, 12th Bonhoeffer Conference here in Basel, that we've been reflecting on. What does it mean to truly believe in the God who is the God of the whole universe? And how does that affect our ethics? And ultimately, through our ethics, how does it affect society? And as you know, I'll be speaking on the relationship between Dietrich Bonhoeffer's Christian humanism and Nelson Mandela's African Christian humanism. But one of the areas that I think is important to hold on to is that sometimes these people who we really look up to, who we idealize, like Nelson Mandela, can become for us idols. They can become the source of our belief, or the object of our belief, the thing or the person in which we believe. And in South Africa, we've seen the legacy of some of these individuals becoming contested, particularly 22 years after the dawn of participative democracy in South Africa, and we still experience such tremendous divides between the races, particularly for those young South Africans who were born after the end of political apartheid, yet still find themselves facing tremendous consequences of racial and economic inequality. In fact, as I've pointed out in previous videos, the Institute for Justice and Reconciliation Barometer report for 2015 shows that South Africa is more divided and more economically unequal today than it was 22 years ago. And so maybe it is time that we lose some of this religious conviction that we have in people like Nelson Mandela. Yes, he made a very significant difference in the world. He made certainly a magnificent contribution to South Africa and South African society, but we need to be careful that we don't end up living in this past idealism, that we don't idolize him so much that we give up our agency and responsibility for social and ethical and political action in the current world. Now, as I've thought about this, that REM song, Losing Our Religion, comes to mind. And I proposed a chapter in a book that I'm writing on this called Losing Our Civil Religion. Now, civil religion is that kind of faith. Robert Bellah in particular writes about this. It's that kind of faith that finds structure, belief in the sort of social aspects, political aspects of our society. America has a very particularly strong civil religion where the cross has become replaced by the flag. And we certainly had that in South Africa. John de Gruchy, I remember, wrote about this sense of civil religious conviction that took place in 1994 with the dawn of democratic rule, and how people idolized this new flag and held people like Nelson Mandela, the Messiah of this new reality, in high regard. The Constitution became the scriptures of this religious belief, this conviction that society would somehow be whole or healed through the Messiah who would come. In some senses, people have regarded Desmond Tutu as the priest of this new civil religion, the one who proclaimed the possibility of a new reality. And the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, of course, which has done a lot of good, but has also been regarded critically in some senses, was regarded as a liturgical moment in this new South Africa. The Constitution, as I may have mentioned before, became the sort of text for this new South Africa. So the point that I want to make is this: I think that we take Cornel West's words to heart. Let's not place our belief, our trust in those systems. Let's rather say, loving God, would you show me, would you convict me, would you lead me, would you give me discernment so that I can figure out what my role is, and the role of my family and the community in which I live, the role of the work that I do, the role of my research and my studies, how I can use all of these to enact a more just, a more equal, a more loving version of society, and not for the sake of political peace or enmity or peace between peoples, but for the sake of the realization and the achievement of the just and loving and equitable kingdom of God. So remember, this is not a lecture, it's just a thought. And I'll put some links in the show notes to some of the articles and chapters and ideas that I've mentioned. You can go and read further, and I'd love to hear your comments. What do you think about this notion of losing our civil religion in different countries, certainly in South Africa that I've mentioned, perhaps in America and other places as well. If you've enjoyed the blog, please do like it. Thanks for subscribing. It all helps to make them a little more visible. Share it on Facebook, or stick it on your website, share it on Twitter. And if you've got comments or feedback, if you agree or disagree, I'd love to hear from you in the comments section. You can follow me at Digital Dion on Twitter and on Instagram, on Beam, on Snapchat, or visit my website www.dionforster.com. So thanks for watching. I'm going to hop back on my bike and enjoy the last 15 or 20 minutes of the lunch hour, and then this afternoon back to the 12th International Bonhoeffer Congress here in Basel.